Hey guys, so this is a particularly interesting news story which came up on my Facebook timeline not 9 minutes ago, and I am absolutely going to share it with you today because it is a very exciting piece of news. The Linux-based gaming platform SteamOS will be available to download on December 13th. So the article here, which I will obviously link to down in the description, talks about, it's a pretty short article, but it essentially talks about the fact that the release for what is essentially the public beta is just around the corner in a couple of days' time. It kind of snuck up on us, and I guess, and well, I'm very excited about it, as you can imagine. I've been anticipating SteamOS for some time now, and to me, it's I guess it's almost going to be the event of the year. I've been a big fan of Steam ever since they came to Linux, and I opened up my Steam account on Linux, and have predominantly been buying Linux games, although I do buy quite a few games now on my Windows partition, especially thanks to the Cyber Monday and the autumn Steam sales. And I am kind of following the Steam box as well. I don't know whether or not I'll get one, whether or not I'll have a go at building one myself. But it does look pretty good, and the Steam box has been announced to being, if I'm not mistaken, $500, which I hope that translates quite well into European money, because the Xbox One is $500, but it translates across as 500 British pounds, which is a complete difference in price. It's a completely different price. It's a lot more expensive over here in the UK than it is in the States. And hopefully, if Steam know what they're doing here, and if Valve know what they're doing, that'll translate to a much more realistic price of about £300, which is much more affordable. It's still quite expensive for a console, but from what we've seen so far of the specs of the Steam box, it's worth £300. So there has been a bit of a discussion among video game enthusiasts and people who are particularly big fans of the horse race between gaming companies, who is going to buy the Steam box. A lot of people are saying, well, console gamers are still going to probably prefer consoles like the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4 because they still follow the traditional model, even though they're looking more and more like PCs during the day, like by the day, they're still essentially consoles. Back when, a good number, 10 years ago now, the type of people that bought consoles were the kind of people that wanted to not have any fuss with their computer hardware. They wanted to buy a game, they wanted to play it, and they didn't want to have to worry about all the technical, how much RAM you've got, how much disk space you've got. They just wanted to, plug and play. And consoles like the Super Nintendo and the Sega Genesis served those purposes very well. In fact, you didn't even have system requirements when you bought the game. Now, that being said, there is system requirements when you buy console games now. You have to look on the back of the box, you have to see if you've got enough hard disk space, you have to look to see if you've got the right rumble packs, or whatever that it is particularly required, whether or not you've got the Kinect, or whether or not you've got the other thing that plugs into it. Yeah, so console games are becoming more and more complex and complicated and have a list of system requirements. So there is more complications creeping into the world of console gaming, and I think that there is a segment of console gamers which do not appreciate that. They tolerate it, but they don't appreciate it. Now, when Steam came to Linux, I signed up to Steam, and I got to admit, it's very, very, very user-friendly. Now, I know a decent amount about computers, so it probably always was going to be easy for me, but this is Steam coming to Linux, didn't have a problem in the world with it. I'm very happy with it, and I can't imagine anyone really having too much of a problem dealing with Steam. So if you put the Steam software, just the Steam client, put it in the form of an operating system on the form of a console designed to run it, and if the user friendliness retains its if it retains its user friendliness, then that is going to be a very user-friendly system, and one that is still going to appeal to the kind of people that just want to buy a games machine and just get on and play games. Yes, you will not have CDs, you will have digital downloads, which I personally find to be a lot more user-friendly than CDs. There is that minor inconvenience of actually having to download it, but to download a game and play it still takes less time than waiting for it to be delivered in the mail if you order it. So I think it's those kind of people who are essentially going to be buying the Steam box, people that really just want to take the hassle out of gaming. I think there are going to be a few PC enthusiasts. I would consider buying one, just because to take a lot of the complications and the hurdles out of gaming, because it can be a little bit complicated at times, making sure you've got a compatible graphics card, making sure you've got enough RAM, etc. And also it's just nice to have a separate machine for games, especially when it comes to recreation. Also, it'd be quite interesting to see how the Steam controller pans out. I mean, it's impossible to speculate as to whether or not it's actually going to be any good without actually having a go on it. Anyway, I'm kind of getting a bit off track here, but I do have to say that Steam and Valve have been making all the right decisions so far. So I'm really, my hopes are high and my expectations are certainly high when it comes to the SteamOS. So I'm expecting quite a lot. Please, guys, let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. Will you be part of the beta testing army, which will no doubt form on December the 13th, or will you ride it out, as a lot of people, as they suggest, till 2014 if you're not particularly comfortable with an operating system that's a bit rough around the edges? Let's bear in mind that, of course, SteamOS is based on Debian, so if you're an Ubuntu user, if you're a Linux Mint user, and hell, if you're a Debian user, you're probably going to be somewhat familiar enough to be able to cope with a system that's a little bit rough around the edges. I've got my nice Linux Mint system working like a dream right now after really not that much configuration, so I don't think I would have too much of a problem with SteamOS. For me, it's a time issue. But I will certainly be running it on a virtual machine if nothing else. So guys, that's about it from me today. Please let me know what you think down in the comment section below, and until next time, I've been Chris Ware and you've been awesome. Take care now.